G'day, fools. I'm Scott Phillips, the Motley Fool's Chief Investment Officer here in Australia, and welcome to another episode of one of our very favourite YouTube series. I say it all the time, they're all our favourites. This is one of them, our favourite investing books, and I'm joined by analyst extraordinaire, all-round good bloke, and, well, he's a Melburnian, but we don't hold that against him, Ryan Newman. How are you, buddy?
I'm great, thank you, mate, and thank you for having me back. I must be doing something right.
Well, yes, you are. I also know you're going to have to get my age at least once during this video, so I thought I'd throw the Melbourne gag in first just to make sure I get the first shot in, mate. It's important to preemptively strike these days. Mate, we're going to talk about a book, speaking of preemptively or not, a book, see how weightage like that, called Wait, The Art of Procrastination by Frank Partnoy. Now, this is a really fascinating topic, mate. I have not read this book, and I can't wait to hear about it because the world is all about, don't just sit there, do something. It's all about hurry up and make a decision. The old hot take on social media is a phenomenon and not in a good way these days. Um, Everyone wants to hurry, everyone wants to make a decision to move forward. And yet, this is exactly the opposite, correctly or otherwise. I'm going to assume you're going to say correctly because you brought it to us as an investing book. Procrastination, no one says, you know what, you're great. You're great at procrastination, Scott. They say, well, you bloody stop procrastinating. That's my wife, actually. Anyway, why would Frank write a book called The Art of Procrastination, and why would you tell us it's a good one for investors?
Yeah, look, I think you raised a good point there, where the world is really about don't just stand there, do something.
Hmm.
And I think when it comes to investing, it's really the opposite. Don't just stand there. Don't just do something. Stand there, rather.
Nice, yeah,
You,
yeah,
you want to take that backward step, and you actually want to take your time with these sort of things. And I think and I brought this book to the table today for this chat because I think it's particularly relevant now. And look, it's relevant at all times during investing, but I think
yeah.
particularly during market drawdowns like the one that's happening at the minute.
Hmm.
Um, human beings, unlike many other creatures, we do have the ability to plan for the future, and
Hmm.
we do that. We see that in many forms of our lives, in terms of our ability to save. Most of us watch what we eat or exercise in order to, I guess, stay healthy. We forego something now with the idea that we'll get something better in the long run from having waited. And I think though that this is often superseded by our survival instinct.
Hmm.
And the survival instinct is, obviously the fight or flight instinct. We do things at the drop of a hat when we sense danger. And that's a good response if you're in the savannah. You're trying to survive in the savannah and get rid of the lion that's on your tail. You want to
Hmm.
get out of
Hmm.
there as quickly as possible. But it's not such a great response when you're in the market and trying to build long-term wealth. And this really relates to a concept called delayed gratification, which is
Hmm.
uh, gratifying yourself later at the expense of today. So putting money away that you could be spending today on a great new television or something, with the idea that that's going to potentially grow into something much better in the long term.
Hmm.
Sorry, go on, Scott.
No, I was going to ask you. I think that's a really important one, right? The idea of the line. You don't hang around thinking, I wonder if that's a line. I better go and check. It's like, you know what? It might be. I'm getting out of here because, frankly, taking a second look could be the difference between life and death. It makes perfect sense. And yet, as you say, the ability. You love the phrase. You said we have the ability to do these things, to think about the future, to save. The ability is not enough, though, right? I mean, it's that very human instinct somewhere deep in our reptilian brains that reminds us we are the evolved, end result, or maybe not even the end result. So far, we're the end result of millions of years of evolution, where fight or flight was the only thing, and other creatures can't think about. My dog doesn't put aside a couple of dog biscuits. Squirrels do, I guess, put aside some food for the winter, but there's not a sense that it's a natural thing for most species to do. So we kind of, and frankly, even investing is only a century or so old. We are literally putting millions of years of evolution on one hand, 100 years of hopefully education, observation, theory on the other, and trying to match them up. It's a tough deal. It's no surprise that most people really, really struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I think I'll provide another example here, and I think this will sort of show how it can apply to investors even further.
Hmm.
Let's say you're a tennis player and you're facing a serve. So let's say you're facing a serve from Rafa Nadal or Serena Williams. They're two of the sport's power players, obviously.
Mhm.
Now, facing down that serve, you've got about half a second before it reaches you. The first
It's
two tenths or
crazy.
so of a second
Yeah.
is it's really about the visualization of the ball. So you're seeing the ball in motion, you're seeing the other player
Mm.
prepare to serve it. Everyone in that everyone is in the same boat with that time, whether you're me, who is a terrible tennis player, or whether you're Roger Federer, that visualization period, that 0.2 of a second, is pretty much the same
Mm.
for anyone. You can see exactly what is going on at the other end of the court. What happens in the other 0.3 or so of the second is what really counts. And that's where the professional tennis players really benefit. They prepare. They have that time to prepare, and they practiced. They know they essentially know what's coming for them.
Mm.
If you're in the market, you have the exact same information in front of you in terms of what share prices are doing on any given day. A share price is down 5%, another share price is up 2%, whatever. You have the exact same information as someone else.
Mm.
But what you want to have at your disposal is information and knowledge. So let's say you're a trader who trades on three letter ticker symbols. You have no idea what the underlying business does. You see it fall 10% on a single day. You panic, you sell, you don't know what is coming. If you take the time to actually understand that business and what it does, that puts you in a much better position to actually understand what is happening when that share price is down 10%. Is this business likely going to be impacted or worth 10% less today because of this, and will it continue to be worth less in, say, 5 or 10 years? Should I panic and sell this now, or should I hold on? On the other hand, is this maybe even an opportunity to buy more? And I think that's a really important thing. And I suppose in that sense, just like the best tennis players, the best investors actually take that time, and they really make the most of that 0.3 of a second in terms of tennis. But in terms of investing, we don't even have to act that fast. We can take weeks
Right.
if we need to. So
Yeah.
I think that's really at the core of what the art of procrastination is. Being able to delay that decision making as long as we can to make the best decision that we can.
I like that, mate. I wonder. I haven't read the book, and I don't know if there is an answer in the book. But I wonder. Let me take devil's advocate perspective for a second. Let me spit that out. The value of not overreacting, not instantly reacting, taking time to think is obvious. On the other hand, the other side, we've all heard about paralysis by analysis, and the idea that the longer you take to do something, it can become its own millstone. So you go from overreacting to never acting. Procrastination is somewhere in the middle of that. You might call it consideration. You might call it something else. But does the book talk to how to find that right middle ground between overreacting and procrastinating to the point of actually being a problem rather than a tool to be used by the average investor?
Yeah, and look, I think that really varies by the individual and by the circumstance. So, as an example, the tennis player has a fraction of a second, whereas someone lining up to shoot a goal in the footy has a much longer time period, relatively speaking. Likewise, we have even longer than that in investing. So it really does come down to the individual. But I think what is really important is that you wait to take the emotion. That you wait enough time to take that initial emotion out of it. So you're not reacting on fear. You are reacting on information. So let's say a business, let's say looking back 2 years ago, or even today rather. So a business today has fallen 10%. Is it actually worth 10% based on the fundamentals? Has the company released information that suggests this is a lasting issue? This is a structural issue that we now have, that we now have in front of us, or is it just the stock's down 10%? I think to step one more step further though, and this is actually applying a Jeff Bezos quote from his 2015 or 2016 Amazon annual shareholder letter. Most decisions should probably be made with somewhere around 70% of the information that you wish you had. If you wait for 90%, in most cases, you're probably being slow. So there is a point at which time as investors, you do have to make a decision. You can't just keep on procrastinating. You do need to actually make that decision. But I think there's that sweet spot. In Jeff Bezos's case, he said 70%. I think if you were acting on 40 or 50% information, then you're acting on incomplete information and probably making a suboptimal decision. If you do wait to have absolutely all the information at your disposal, I think you're probably going to be over considering things. You're probably going to fall victim to things like overconfidence, that you become overly confident in your predictions and your forecasts. So I think there is that sweet spot.
I love that, mate, actually, because it does talk to exactly, as you mentioned at the very end of that, There was some research done many years ago now on people asked to make predictions based on a couple of pieces of data. And the more data you gave them, the more confident they were in their predictions. But the prediction actually didn't get any more accurate. It was just the level of confidence that rose because of that extra data. And sometimes I think it makes a lot of sense, particularly in investing. There's the concept of having strong opinions loosely held, coming to a view based on some information. Remembering you could always be wrong. There's so much we can unpack there and take us ages. I really like this book, man. I love the idea of it. I'm going to add this to my ever-growing pile of Christmas reading. The worst part about doing these episodes is I have so many books now to read, but it's also the best thing about it. And we hope that our viewers are enjoying hearing from you and the other analysts as well. Mate, thank you for joining us on our favourite investing books. From Ryan, myself, and the whole Motley Fool team, and Ryan's dog. Until next time, Fool on.